doing this, we have realized that what we're excited about is like people feeling welcomed to the cycling community. Like that, I would say is a big part of our thesis now is this idea of, sure, you may never have done a bike race before. And you might feel like, oh, I'm way too old to do a bike race. But like, there's like, why not try? Maybe you'll hate it and decide you never want to do another one. Okay. But like maybe you'll be like, wow, that was really fun. And I met cool people. And so our goal is to grow the cycling community, to welcome people, because I think sometimes the cycling community can feel a little elitist and like, if you're not part of the cool kids club, we don't want you here. And we're like, no, we want everybody to like come and enjoy this really awesome sport.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Tales, Ales, and Trails. In this episode, we sit down with Syd and Macky. They're the power couple in mountain biking. They're both competitive cyclists. They travel all over the world to compete in mountain bike races. They film all of it. They're content creators with a huge following on YouTube and across social media. They really specialize in kind of showing what it's like to be to be a professional cyclist, the training, the race days, the recovery, all of it. They're also really awesome people. I'm so glad I got to sit down and talk with them about not only their passion for mountain biking, but what goes into wearing both hats, being a competitor and being a content creator, and how they balance all of that. And we talked about what this journey has been like for them, and all of the amazing people and relationships they've kind of built along the way. It's a really, really fun episode. I can't wait for you guys to check it out. Without further ado, please enjoy this episode with Syd and Macky. Cheers. Guys, thanks so much for being here, for making time to have this chat today. I wanted to first ask, how are you guys doing? How are things? I know you guys just got back semi recently from a pretty big trip. How are things?
Good. Yeah, it's been busy, really
That's been
busy.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got back from New Zealand. It was actually a little while ago at this point, but we have done a number of races since. We've raced whiskey off road, we've raced Moab rocks, and actually yesterday we did a 100-mile gravel race. So we're a little tired, I think is probably the best way to put it.
I love that you guys say things have been busy, because I feel like for the two of you, it's pretty much a constant state of busy. I don't totally know if there's been downtime for you guys anytime in the recent past.
Yeah, not a lot of it. I think that is kind of something we've realized over the past few months is we need to maybe like work on our work-life balance a little bit. It's just that we are lucky enough to do for work the things that we also do for fun. So
Yeah.
it's hard to say no to things and races and opportunities. So yeah, we end up pretty busy.
It's
It's a good busy.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Um,
But then sometimes you like get back from a race and you're exhausted, and then you're like, cool, we have 3 videos to edit. And then you're like, maybe it's not a good
there's ebbs and flows to it, right? There's times when it's a great busy, and there's times when it's like a really difficult busy.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I, I, I I wanted to, pick your brains about a lot of that. Before we get into all of that, I did want to ask you guys, some basic background. I know this has been covered in the past on your channel, but wanted to ask you guys about, where you're from, how the two of you met, those sorts of details.
Let's see. The 1-minute version.
Yeah, I grew up in Ohio
And I grew up in Taos, New Mexico.
and we met in Vermont.
That's cool.
Where we went to college, where we both were on the bike team, which was very small collegiate racing team, but we yeah, we met racing bikes and we're still racing
Still
bikes.
racing bikes. Lived
Awesome.
in a van for a number of years right out of college, like 7 years. We didn't have a house or a mortgage or rent anything. Just kind of bounced around and, hung out with at our parents' houses a certain amount. And then COVID happened and we moved in with my parents, as did multiple of my siblings and their significant others. So there were a lot of people in the house. And after COVID, we were like, maybe it's time for us to have our own house. And so we ended up moving here to Los Alamos, New Mexico, and have been here for what, 4.5 years now? Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And you mentioned meeting each other on the cycling team in college. I wanted to ask the both of you about where the original origins, the let's call it just the origins of cycling were for the both of you guys. How did you guys get into cycling? Where did that kind of start for each of you?
So when I moved to Taos, when I was 13, my parents enrolled me in an after school mountain bike program, and it was the first year of the program uh, done by the Field Institute of Taos. And they, taught me how to mountain bike. I think there were two of us in the program, maybe three of us in the program that first year. And then, I did that for maybe 2 years. And then they're like, hey, there's this race over in Angel Fire. It's not too far away. And I was like, cool, the race. And I went and did it and just loved it and have basically been racing bikes ever since. So that would have been, I think, 2000, not 2000, yes, 2005, 3? 2003, I think I did my first race, and then I got my pro card in 2006. So this year marks my 20th year with a pro card. So, I'm now racing against guys who have been alive for less time than I've had a pro card. So that's something.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so I started riding mountain bikes really young. Both my parents were big road cyclists and then very early adopters of mountain bike in Southern Ohio. Like my dad was riding off-road in the 80s. So I was kind of just I just grew up with it. But I would say I didn't really mountain bike until I was probably in middle school or something. And I definitely feel like it was very hard. So, like, and it wasn't really, like, fun or cool because it was with my parents and not, like, my friends. This was way before NICA was a thing or anything like
Sure.
that. So, I kinda dabbled a little bit through high school. I was a pretty competitive runner, like, cross country and track. I was kinda more into that and then hurt myself running, pretty common story, and so instead of running in college, I just leaned into the bike thing and had a pretty good background from having ridden since I was little, so yeah,
Here we are.
yeah.
So you guys met on this cycling team in college. Like we talked about, you both had some origins in cycling, some origins on the competitive side of things. Um, was there one of you more than the other that kind of leaned into the idea of competing in a sport like mountain biking and in a sport like cycling? How did that kind of materialize?
Yeah, so Mackie was definitely much more competitive than I was, like, when we met in college. Like, I was kinda all over the place in college. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't necessarily plan on racing professionally. I think I kind of fell into that a bit by accident after I graduated because I didn't wanna get a real job because that didn't sound very fun. They're both. After I graduated, we kinda decided to lean into the van life thing and travel, and I actually started a travel blog first. I was doing that really badly, but that was sort of like the original plan, and then but basically, I mean, I always loved riding, so I think we just kinda ended up riding more and more, and he was racing, so and that was 2014, which was about when he transitioned to racing enduro seriously. And I think like when we were in college, you were racing cross country seriously. I think the barrier to entry to that at a pro level at that time felt very high to me. Like I was not super fit. I wasn't really training. Then when you started doing enduro, it was like, okay, I can do this. What did not totally turned out to be true.
Yeah, and I think especially at that time, enduro was new,
Yeah.
and so it was less of like, "Oh, this is the specific skill set you have to have," and it was more, you have to be willing to go ride your bike all day and pedal up the hill and then go downhill as fast as you can, and, I mean, that's why enduro was so popular when it first started, is kinda anybody could do it. You didn't have to train seriously as a cross country rider or, be at the bike park all the time practicing downhill laps, like, you could just ride for fun, and still race enduro.
Which is kind of what we were doing, like we were just doing lots of big backcountry rides and then enduro races for those years, and that's kind of how I got hooked on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sid, I think with you talking about the cross country and track background, I know it's not apples to apples, having done both myself, but there is kind of a mentality from cross country and track that kind of aligns well with getting into cycling and competitive cycling. I feel like there's something of a pipeline there, right? Because you do have, not as much of an aversion to going out and doing hard things and being out on the trail for hours at a time or things like that. I mean that kind of goes hand in hand with both sports. So it feels like you might have had a little bit of background there that really helped, make that transition.
I think for sure. I think also I've always wanted to be competitive, like with whatever I do, and not necessarily in that like being competitive with other people, but just in having a progression element. So like I'm not someone who's like, oh, I'm just gonna go ride 1 day a week and like have fun. I'm not very good at fun. This has been well established on our. But like for me, it has to be like I want to get better at this thing. And I think once you get in that with and like Matthew was saying, we started enduro racing when that was really early, so it was fairly rewarding because there weren't that many women racing in the US. So it was like, "Oh, I could be one of the best or, like, win this race or whatever." So there was, like, definitely an element of, like, wanting to get better and progress.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys mentioned the starting out as van lifers a couple of times. I think back in 2013. Does that sound about right? And I know originally it wasn't
Either it might have
necessarily.
been 14. Trying to remember. You graduated in December of
Well, we got the van in 2014, but
You're
we
right.
were technically living out of
Good point.
a car
Yeah.
for a year there,
We did
so
car life for a
yeah.
year, and then we did van life.
Yeah.
So by comparison, going to van life had to feel like, moving into a 3-bed, 2-bath house. Like there's
Well,
so much
yeah,
more
kind
space.
of. Our first van we bought for $1,400. We pretty much bought it because Mackie had bought a dirt bike while we were in Ohio visiting my parents, and we didn't have a way to get it back in our Chevy Aveo. So we bought this van and then put a rooftop tent on it and did that for 3 or 4 years, and then I think in 2017, we bought a slightly upgraded van, but it's still we never did the, like, full van build out thing. It was always very, DIY.
It was always a rooftop tent
Yeah.
on basically like a utility van, like a 40 Econo line. We went from a 150 to a 350
Mhm.
and a regular or like a short body to the long body. But like
Well, the second one had air conditioning, though,
the second
which
one
was
had
a
air
huge
conditioning.
upgrade.
That's huge. I feel like that's really important.
Yeah.
That was the main upgrade.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so we did van life, but, like, we didn't really do, like, YouTube, Instagram van life. Nobody wanted
Sure.
to hear about our van on the internet. They were like, "Gross.
Yeah.
You look like
Your
you're
van
homeless."
sucks. Basically.
I feel like it points to, there was a lot of dedication into the sport itself. So there was not maybe you didn't need to put as much thought into the creature comforts of what happens around the sport. You guys were so invested in training and improving and chasing this passion.
it was a means to an end for sure.
Yeah.
Like we lived in a van because it meant that we didn't have to pay rent. We didn't have to have a mortgage. We could go to races and be there early and get to know the area and the trails.
Well, we just couldn't have afforded to
Yeah.
do what we were doing at that period if we had a mortgage or any expenses at all. Like we basically were able to race from like 2014 to 2018 by having our like living expenses be next to nothing.
Yeah.
So we
Next.
spend all our money on like going to cool places to race bikes.
Yeah.
Which is, it's like a pretty cool way to live, but it also comes with kind of a darker side of just like not having any stability. And I think what we've learned is we are much fitter and trained much better living in a house. We couldn't have afforded that at the time, but
Yeah. Right. Like it was the right decision for us at the time because it's what we could afford to do. But it meant that we didn't have the consistency. We didn't have the training, the recovery. The recovery is probably the big one.
Yeah.
That we just, we were constantly moving. We were like we had to grocery shop every other day because when you have a cooler, you fill up the cooler, and then 2 days later you have to get more ice and fill up the cooler again. Like, so you never had like full days of just like relaxing and recovering because there was always something that like had to be done and you were moving.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. So what I'm hearing is pretty convenient for being able to move around the country and catch all of these different races. Not as convenient for rest and for like the other side of things. The other thing I want to touch on because you mentioned there you couldn't have afforded to do this lifestyle with a mortgage at that time because during that time pre 2017 I believe you guys hadn't had the channel and I don't for anyone that might be watching this you know there's not a you, there's not a glamorous, super wealthy lifestyle to be had in professional mountain biking. Hopefully I'm not selling that short in any way, but from what I understand, it's not a get rich quick kind of sport.
No.
No.
I don't think anyone's in it for the money for sure.
I mean, if you are, you really should find something else to do because there are much easier ways to make money. I studied computer science in college. So, like, had I made the decision to go be a programmer, I could have made a lot of money being a programmer right out of college. And, especially at that time, this was what, 2011, like, programmers, very high demand. Like, everybody needed programmers. So, yeah, that would have been a much, much easier way to make money.
Yeah,
So
and I feel like
there
at some
sorry,
point
sorry.
your dad even said to you, he was like, you do realize you could just like work a programming job and make 100K a year and like buy the bikes.
Buy whatever bike you want.
Versus like, look, we got bikes for free and we made $300 in prize money this year.
Exactly.
Was there ever like a real because Sid, you mentioned this a few minutes ago about not wanting to have a real job and wanting to chase this passion. Was there ever in the early stages, was there ever consideration of like maybe we should or was it like we're doing this, this is something we want to follow this path. We're absolutely 100% passionate about this. We this is what we want to do and we're going this direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I think we basically were like, we're going to keep doing this. And then if we literally cannot afford it, then we'll figure out what we need to do differently.
Yeah, I think there was sort of a thought, like, at least for me when I graduated, I had some savings from working in college and, I kind of thought like, we'll just keep going until the money runs out. And then sort of along the way, we figured out how to keep the money from running out. And then we figured out how to like run an actual business. And now we're here. I do think in like retrospect, like knowing what we know now about finances and retirement and all this stuff, I am kind of like, what were we thinking? But luckily it all worked out so far.
I mean, we laugh because I think one of the things we inherited from both of our mothers is a tendency to save.
Yeah.
And so, like, we basically were like, if it's not absolutely necessary, like if it's not food because we have to eat or gas because we have to get from place
Or
to place.
anything bike related.
Yeah, or we'll spend whatever money on bicycle related stuff because those are business expenses. Like, but if it wasn't that, we just didn't spend money on it. And so like, it's so ridiculous to look back on those times. Like, literally the only things we spent money on were like going to bike races, which were often very like, we'd fly to the other side of the world. Like, this was not a cheap thing to
Right.
do, but we justified it as like, this is our job, this is what we're doing. And then like the only other thing we spent money on were things that we absolutely had to spend money on. And like, in hindsight, that was really great because it allowed us to like save money and keep doing what we wanted to do.
Well, and we were able, despite our income being really low, our expenses were so low that when we actually started making small amounts of sponsorship money, like 2016, 2017, like we were also just saving tons, like even because we weren't spending any money beyond like the expenses to get to races and stuff. So I think doing that and kind of realizing how little we could live on was like very helpful in terms of, I don't know, setting ourselves up for eventually being able to buy a house and have a real life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it takes such discipline, right? And I think there's a lot of people out there that probably have some kind of aspiration or dreams to living a lifestyle like you guys did, being able to travel around, ride bikes, have all these kinds of really incredible experiences. And I think the thing that maybe gets lost in the mix is the level of discipline that you need to be able to make that life happen, right? Because there are creature comforts that have to go by the wayside. There's just no two ways about it. I just think it's really fascinating and awesome to hear, the discipline that you guys implemented to chase this dream, to follow this passion.
I think it's worth recognizing that like it doesn't feel as much like discipline when you've never really had those things.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of why we were able to I don't know, I guess live such a bizarre life for several years is we didn't really know anything else. Like we went straight out of college to traveling and living out a van and like it felt like like it was the dream at that point. And so it didn't feel like discipline. I think now if you were to tell me you have to sleep in a tent every night again, that would I would struggle with that like, a
100%.
lot. Like, and I think in a lot of ways I'm more disciplined now than I was then, but like I've also now lived for several years in a house and like with some semblance of luxury that I think is very hard to go back. So I definitely have no judgment for people who are, who do have a full-time job and are used to that level of income. Like it's much harder to say, "Oh, I'm gonna quit my job and do this," versus like, "Oh, I've never had any money. I've been a broke college student. Like now I'm gonna be a broke like
Not
bike
college
bum,"
student.
Right.
And I think that one thing I want to clarify is like Sid and I both grew up middle class,
Yeah,
upper
yeah.
middle class. Like we had comfortable childhoods, but like as a kid, you don't really have your own money. And then in college, you like sort of have your own money, but
Not very
only,
much.
only small amounts of it. And then like you graduate college and it's exactly what Sid said is like we went from being broke college kids to being broke not college kids. And like that was really the difference. And so I think it would be really hard at this point for us to be like, okay, we're gonna go back and like live on the road and have to shop. Like it just I
Shower out of a bucket.
yeah, like I think yeah. I mean, if we had to do it, we could do it. And I know that because we did it.
Yeah.
But I also would really prefer not to do it.
I also think just discipline is very complicated, like the whole our cultural narratives around discipline and willpower and all that. And I think, for us, I don't think it's ever felt like discipline or having to have a lot of willpower because we like riding our bikes.
Yeah.
And we do like want to get better. So it's like the prioritization is very easy in certain ways of like, okay, we're not going to do that because that's not going to help us get better on our bikes, or like we're not going to spend money on this, that, and the other thing that we don't really care about because it's not this thing that we do care about.
I think the best way to put it is, I think Syd and I have sort of very single-minded focuses on being professional bike racers. And I think that's really like, that it's pretty easy to make a decision because you're like, okay, do I want to, I don't know, go out tonight and stay up late and drink a bunch? Like, does that move us towards this ultimate goal of being as good at bike races as we can? No. Well, that makes the decision really easy. And like, that's like, I think in a lot of ways that's very fortunate, and it has allowed us to have the success that we have, but it also means that we're pretty focused on just riding bikes. Like, we could be kind of boring.
I really appreciate that insight, and I love how the concept how you guys look at the concept of discipline in that way, right? I mean, it's for it to not seem like discipline. I mean, that it totally makes sense to me, because it is like you said, Mackie. Like, will this thing help us become better bikers? Will this benefit us in our journey? And with through that lens, none of it's discipline, right? Like you said, it's easy to um to go that direction. I wanted this is kind of a fairly good place to transition into talking about the channel itself, because you guys have spent since 2017, I believe, is when the channel started. You guys have pretty meticulously shared your experiences as professional mountain bikers. Everything from the training to the race days to the recovery. I really, and I'm sure I know that I'm one of thousands that has been really captivated by this, because there's not a lot of other prominent cyclist YouTubers who are sharing things in the way you guys are sharing things. You're putting it all on the table for people to see what life is like as a professional mountain biker. So my initial question is, when you were starting the channel, was that kind of the inspiration and the goal behind it, was to kind of peel back the curtain on what it looked like to be a competitive cyclist? Was that the aim?
I think that was definitely kind of maybe the thesis statement a bit. I think, to be totally transparent, I mean, we started the channel so that we could actually make money doing what we were doing, because we were kind of at a point where we had been racing for, I guess we did start the channel in 2017. I don't think we actually like started posting videos consistently until 2018, but we were kind of at a point where we were making some money from sponsorship. We had okay results in like the national enduro scene. Like, we weren't going to start winning international enduro races. That was very clearly not going to happen. And that, it was also pretty obvious to us that, like, if you want to make a living as a sponsored athlete, there are two paths, and one of them is to like win a lot of really high profile races. And there aren't many people that can do that for an entire career. Like,
Well, especially even for an entire year, because like only one person wins at each race. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, that's not wasn't super realistic for us to be racing at that level. And, we kind of knew the other option is that you get people watching what you're doing and caring what you're doing. And we originally started the channel with the idea of like, this will make us more appealing to sponsors. And like, the kind of crazy arc is that it sort of made us much less dependent on sponsors, and then also more appealing to sponsors, which
When
was
we
kind of like a cool double whammy.
Yeah, we kind of stopped worrying about being as appealing to sponsors because we realized, like, with Patreon, with YouTube, like, we could make an income that was not dependent on sponsors and was less volatile, because like someone can leave Patreon and like that's a bummer, but it's $5 or $10 or $25 versus you have a sponsor leave and like, sometimes that could be a quarter of your
Yeah.
sponsorship income. Like, and so for us, we're like, oh wow, this is cool. We can, you know, promote and like talk to a lot of people and like get a lot of people excited about bikes. And then we're like, oh wow, this actually has made us more valuable to sponsors like down the line. So it sort of came full circle. But I think as doing this, we have realized that what we're excited about is like people feeling welcomed to the cycling community. Like that, I would say is a big part of our thesis now is this idea of, sure, you may never have done a bike race before. And you might feel like, oh, I'm way too old to do a bike race. But like, there's like, why not try? Maybe you'll hate it and decide you never want to do another one. Okay. But like maybe you'll be like, wow, that was really fun. And I met cool people. And so our goal is to grow the cycling community, to welcome people, because I think sometimes the cycling community can feel a little elitist and like, if you're not part of the cool kids club, we don't want you here. And we're like, no, we want everybody to like come and enjoy this really awesome sport.
And we really have the most amazing people watching our videos. Like the stories we get in comments or on Patreon or when we do our Patreon camp, like people who have just overcome so much in life, and like the bike has been one of the tools for them.
Yeah.
And that's just so cool to see and to feel like we've inspired them and like a part of their journey.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It really has been cool.
it's been a crazy evolution.
Yeah.
I love that because that's exactly what I wanted to ask you about, really building this community of people who are like-minded, who are passionate about cycling, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Patreon, whatever channel they found you guys through, whatever platform they found you guys through, um, they've been drawn to you guys, and it feels like a really cool thing. I talked about this with a couple of people actually with Brian and with Jess the Maker about the idea of making an impact on someone that maybe you've never met and wouldn't even realize that you're making an impact on them in their lives, but you are. And it's got to be such a cool feeling. I don't know if you guys are actively thinking about that when you're, working on the channel and stuff, but I got to feel like it's a really cool thing to I've built this community and to recognize that what you guys are doing is making a positive impact on the folks in your community.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely like really special whenever we have people come up and talk to us and say they're at a race because of us. I don't know, it's very cool. And I think it's definitely, I wouldn't say it's like something we think about when we make the videos, but I do think we do try to just have positivity
Mm-hmm.
in the videos essentially, or like, we try to make racing feel welcoming, like Mackie was saying, and maybe that isn't like explicit, but it's kind of just showing people what to expect. Because I think a lot of people who have never done a mountain bike race, if they can watch one of our videos before they do it, they know, what to expect, like what the start line is going to look like, what the parking is like, or whatever, just things like that. That I think actually do make the sport more accessible in this small way.
Mm-hmm.
100%. The other thing I had to ask you guys about when it comes to YouTube is the idea that you're not just wearing one hat now. You're not just wearing the hat of professional mountain bikers now. You're now have this hat, or you've had this hat of being content creators, being people in that public space. And I feel like I have to imagine that juggling both is a ton of work, is why part, like we talked about at the very beginning of this, it adds to a lot of the busy of it, right? Racing 100 miles yesterday, I'm sure there was some editing and work happening today. Like, how has it been finding that balance between training and competing and also capturing the training and competing?
This is like the subject of most of our conversations, like every
Between us.
like every long drive we have, we're like, how can we make ourselves less crazy?
Mhm.
But I think, we do love it, obviously. So we keep doing it. We do now employ one of Mackie's brothers to do rough cuts for us, which has been super helpful. Because as our videos have evolved, like it's funny when we started the channel, we were doing 2 videos a week in like 2018, and Mackie was doing all the editing. I didn't know up from down on an editing software, and like he would edit while I drove the van around, and we just like bust out 2 videos a week somehow.
Kind of slap the footage in there, cut it down a little bit, upload it on really slow internet, so it takes forever to upload.
And now it's like, I mean, things have just gotten a lot more complex. You know, we have just terabytes on terabytes of 4K footage. We do a rough cut, we do voiceovers, we do music, we do graphic overlays, we do maps, we do all this stuff. And it now takes like 20 to 30 hours per video.
In addition, after my brother does the rough
Yeah,
cut.
yeah.
So he does the rough cut, and then between the two of us, it's between 20 and 30 editing hours per video.
Yeah. Which if we were actually only doing 1 video a week would probably be manageable. We just end up with these periods where we're traveling and racing, and then like everything stacks up, and it's kind of crazy for a while. And then we travel and race some more and have a lot of fun, then come back and everything stacks up again. So I would say that's a little bit the cycle that we're in right now.
Yeah, I would say there's sort of positive and negatives of it. So the negatives are that it can be kind of stressful, and like obviously we need our recovery. We need to be able to come back from a race and like actually recover. We need some downtime. We want to have time to do other things occasionally, like, fix up our backyard and plant some things and seed seeds and like do that. So trying to figure out that balance is definitely tough. But I mean, I I don't see it as that different than what everybody is struggling with. I mean, if you're working a sort of standard 9 to 5 job, I mean, that doesn't leave you a lot of time. It's weekends and it's afternoons or evenings and mornings. And for us, the schedule is different because weekends are generally taken up with races. But like, it's just like any job. Like you're figuring out the balance of how to like have time to do the other things that are important to you. And for us, there's this combination of like our things we like doing is also our job. And so that kind of adds both a layer of awesomeness and also a layer of complexity to that.
Yeah, totally.
Um,
And I think, like you were saying at the beginning, nobody's in mountain bike racing to get rich. So there are very few of our competitors are actually like full-time racers who get to race and train and do nothing else.
yeah.
Most of them have to work in some capacity or have media stuff, or they have podcasts, or they also have YouTube channels, or like they're doing other things. So I don't feel that it's a disadvantage for us necessarily.
Yeah. And I would say in a lot, like what we've both sort of discussed is that in a lot of ways it's an advantage because everything is then part of the story.
Yeah.
Like, if racing is all you do and all you care about are the results, if you have a bad race, if you have a mechanical, if you don't nail your fueling, if you have terrible cramps, like that's sort of a wasted day for you. Like, well, there goes that race. Like maybe I learned something, but that was kind of just a wasted race. Whereas for us, I think it helps a lot being able to say, okay, had some bad luck. Like what can I do to show people how you can react in a situation like this? Because everybody's going to have bad days. Everybody's going to have just, bad luck, whether it's mechanical, whether it's fueling, etc. And sure, you can scream and throw your bike off a cliff. And some people do that. Like, doesn't get you to the finish line any sooner. And so we try to, try to be role models and sort of show how you can handle frustrations and failures and
It's perspective. Yeah, I think it gives us perspective. And
Yeah.
then also I think it keeps us from being mono-focused on results, which I think is actually a really unhealthy way to race, because you can't win every bike race.
There's always somebody younger and faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think also, like, I don't know, stuff happens in bike races. If you're at least like, oh, this will make a good video.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like my race
I
yesterday,
love
fully in it for the plot. That's what I call that. I mean, it was just catastrophe after catastrophe, but they'll make a really entertaining video. So
No, I love that concept of it's all part of the story, right? Because there's a version of this where you guys could just be posting the podium finishes, and that would be, cool in some way, but it's not telling the entire story of what it's like, being in your shoes on a day-to-day basis. I really think that's such a cool concept, telling the whole story.
crazy how many pro athletes like won't tell the whole story, which is funny because like we sort of see things go down at races and then we see people's like race recap and we're like, interesting.
It's not what we saw happen, but I guess
And like we don't really have that luxury because we have like the camera strapped to our chest. Like we have to, if we get a mechanical, we can't just say, got an unfixable mechanical.
Yeah.
We have to like say, oh, this happened, and then have 100 people on the internet tell us how we could have fixed it. Like there's definitely an accountability piece for players.
Yeah,
and honestly, like, to sort of transition this a little bit, but it means that we have to work with partners who understand what we're
Yeah.
doing. And like, we're really fortunate in that the sponsors we work with get what we're doing and support what we're doing. And they understand that, like,
If your thing breaks on us in a race, it's going
It's-
in the video.
it's going to go in the video.
The only exception is like if we're doing anything that's like pre-production testing or something, because we're not going to bash something that
Yeah.
that they're still working to improve.
Because
And,
then we
like,
can say, hey, look, this is what happened. And they go, okay, great. We're going to make sure that doesn't happen in the future.
but generally it all goes in the video. And I think also, to be honest, like we very rarely have mechanicals that are like the fault of the product. Like it's usually our fault.
Yeah.
Like I flatted twice because I didn't tighten my screw thing enough.
Yeah.
So
Or
that's
valve stem and or core were not tight enough.
this was yesterday.
Yeah.
So like,
So,
I can't really blame the tires for that. It wasn't the wheels.
That was on me.
I feel like with the volume of writing that you guys are doing, like mechanicals are gonna happen. Like it's not a fault of one brand or product or partner. Like it just that's just the name of the game at this point. Like it's inevitable.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
people who act like my product should never break, they don't really like, I don't think that's the metric you should be using when deciding on a product. I think you should be using the metric of, does that company stand behind their products?
Yeah.
Because, like, if a frame breaks, like, and the company is like, we have a lifetime warranty on your frame, like, that's pretty darn cool.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
sure, it'd be great if a frame never broke, but if you want a frame to never break, you're gonna have a really heavy frame that doesn't ride properly. Like, that's just
That does
that.
be a lot of people's attitudes about tires. They're like,
Yes.
oh, you guys get flat tires. You should run an Assegai. And we're like, we're not doing that in a cross country race. That's not how this game works.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are ways to prevent yourself from ever getting flats, but like they are not measures that we're willing to take for other reasons.
Yeah.
Sure. And
So
I
it's
feel
cool
like
working with partners who understand that and know that, like, we're gonna tell the story, and we're gonna, we don't want people to feel like, oh, we're, bashing their product, but also like we're gonna tell the story, and then we're gonna talk about, like, good thing they have a lifetime warranty and we're able to send this rim in and get it rebuilt. Like, that's the way it works.
and that's probably a neat part of this community building, and a different aspect than the followers on YouTube and stuff like that. But having partners that believe in what you guys are doing and understand what your channel is about and what you two as an individuals are about, and the kind of buying in and supporting you guys in that way. It's got to be it has to have been really cool to have built those relationships with these different brands, these different sponsors.
Yeah, totally. And it really has been an evolution. Like it's crazy how different our interactions are with sponsors now than 10, 12 years ago when we were starting to do this. Cause when we were young racers, we're kind of like, we'll do anything. We'll do whatever you want for like free tires.
Yeah.
And now, we're pretty picky.
Yeah.
And pretty, I would say probably pretty demanding as far as like in terms of what we will and will not do.
Yeah. I'd say we aren't especially demanding in terms of like, we need more stuff all the time. We have all this feedback club, but like, we're very clear upfront about like, here's what we can offer at this level. And if that isn't the right fit for you, that's totally fine. We respect that. But like, we aren't going to just do a ton of work for you for free because that's not sustainable for us. And it's really cool being in a position where we can now do that, because we can kind of go back to a sponsor and say, hey, we need to talk about this and we need to figure this out because this isn't sustainable for us. And
The first time we did that and the sponsor came back and was like, accepted our original offer, we were like, whoa.
yes, yeah. Oh, this is good. We have a little bit more leverage than we used to.
It's awesome. Whoa. That's sweet. I this is going to be a terrible pivot, but this has been rolling around in the back of my head for a few minutes now, and I got to ask you this, and I'm sure that you've gotten some version of this question about 1,000,000 times in the last decade, but I want to ask about what it's like training day in and day out with your partner, because then this is like totally apples to oranges, not the same thing at all. But my wife and I would go to the gym 5 times a week. There's totally days where one person's like, "Hey, I'm super tired. I don't know if I can do this today." And there's an other day where like someone gets maybe disappointed that we're not going to the gym together. Stuff like there's a balance between the relationship and the training and the working out and all of that. And I have to feel like I'm not going to make any assumptions, but I want to ask you guys about what the day in day out training is like, um, juxtaposed within what's it like training day in and day out as partners. I mean, there's a lot of dynamics there. You guys have been doing it for a long time now, so I feel like you've pretty much got it down to a science. But are there days where it's like, you know, Mackie doesn't want to get on the bike, or if there are days where it's like, hey, we just got off a 100-mile race 2 days ago. Do we really want to get out there and put some miles in today? Like, very broad question of what's it like putting this kind of time in on the bike with your partner.
I would even add that we also work together.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
we live together, we train together, and we work together. So basically, we spend a lot of time with one another.
I mean, I think the first caveat, though, is that we do a lot of our training separate just because we have to be going the correct speed. But we do often like leave the house together, which I think is very helpful because it's definitely motivating to like be like, all right, we got to do this. Now's the time. Here we go.
Yeah, one person's like, I've got my clothes on. I'm going down to the garage to fill up the tires. And the other person's like, oh, I should my God. So
I would say I leave without Mackie like 20% of the time.
like when we're both trying to leave at the same time and you need to that.
It'll be like 5 minutes. I'll be like, you'll catch up. Because I'm faster at leaving the house and he's faster at riding the bikes. So it evens out. I mean, I think we enjoy riding together for the most part. I mean, I think we obviously like both have days. I mean, when you're training like 15 hours a week, like some of those hours are gonna suck every week. But we have figured out ways, like Mackie will sometimes ride his enduro bike and I ride my cross country bike, and that'll allow us to actually like do an endurance ride together and both be going the same speed and not have that issue.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, I would say for the most part, it works pretty well. But there is also an aspect of like, we both tend to be tired at the same time because our training schedules are fairly similar from like our
Intensity.
big rides are the same days, our intervals are the same days, our races tend to be the same day. Like we occasionally have races that only one of us is doing, but usually we're both racing. And that definitely adds a difficulty component, because if just one person's racing, it's great. The other person can like take care of the meals and bring them things and whatever. But like when both of us are exhausted after a race, it's like, okay, which one of us is going to go start the launch?
Yeah, I will say probably that's actually the harder part as a couple is the like heavy fatigue days more than the riding together. I will say, I think the secret to riding together that a lot of couples seem to be missing is more carbs. This
Yeah.
would be my
hmm
take, because I feel like when we were riding enduro, we didn't really understand fueling at all. Like we just didn't eat, and I had a lot more days where I was just like, I hate everything. I just suck at riding a bike. I'm gonna have a meltdown out in the forest. And like now that I eat like 50 grams of carbs an hour on an endurance ride, like that just doesn't happen anymore. Like you might feel flat, but
Yeah.
you're not like in tears generally.
The hanger
Um,
doesn't happen as much.
Yeah.
And both of us get that. I'm by no means blaming this on Sid. Like both of us get hangry, and it's
Oh,
not
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
It's just yep. You don't yeah. Don't do that to your person.
I was gonna say, no
Yeah,
matter
so
who
if
you
you
are, the
want to ride
hanger is
with your
real.
partner, feed them.
Yeah. Yes.
And now you guys have a cookbook, or I don't know how long the cookbook's been out, but you have, the evolution of the fueling, I guess, has come a long way with you guys be able to craft an entire cookbook based on fueling and preparing yourself for competition in that way, which is pretty cool.
It was a cool project, but it was a lot of work.
Yeah, I'm not sure we'll do
I'm
another
sure.
cookbook. That was a little out of our wheelhouse.
Yeah. If somebody wants to come to us and do a cookbook, great, we're all in. But I don't think we're going to be publishing another cookbook.
Guys, I one of the and I again I want to say I appreciate you guys sitting down and taking the time. This has been awesome. But we're starting to turn the corner here. I have this idea of thinking about all of the different places you guys have been able to experience through being professional athletes. I'm thinking everywhere from Downeyville to France to New Zealand, everywhere in between. Like it has to be such a really meaningful thing to not only get to compete at all of these different things, but to experience the culture and the communities and everything else that's involved with getting to be in these different places. Is there something that sticks out to you guys the most about the places you've been able to go, the experiences you've been able to have? Is there something about getting out there and getting to see all of this that kind of sticks out to you the most?
I think the thing that I've realized is that humans are all really pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Like I think one of the difficulties for people who haven't traveled is you kind of only see what's on television or movies. And so you have this assumption of like, oh, well, people from that country are like this and they're so different than me. But really, we're so much more alike than we are different.
Yeah.
Like, sure, you might speak a different language and you might have some different customs and cultures, but really, we're all basically the same. And that's one of the things I love about bike riding is it doesn't matter where you're from. If you're excited about mountain bikes, like you have that shared thing, and it's an opportunity to connect and share stories and share experiences, even if you have to use Google Translate to communicate with one another. Like it's really cool.
Just think riding a bike is a cool way to see a countryside or a landscape or a place. Definitely gives you a different perspective than you get if you just fly in and go to more touristy kind of destinations. Like this race we did in Mexico this past fall, wild experience, a little unhinged. But we're just riding through these villages and everyone is so kind and like so excited that the bike race is like
Mhm.
going through their village. Like the kids are coming out. We were like signing babies, literally. Like you guys are like, sign my kid. Like, well, and like the kids are just super excited and it was such a cool experience. And one of those villages that we stayed in during that race is the village where that cartel boss was killed in
Yeah.
February.
Yeah.
And that was really, I think, interesting to me to have that perspective and be like, oh, we were there a couple months ago and it was like a lovely place. And like violence and craziness can happen all over the world. It happens in the US, and we shouldn't judge places by what we see
It'd be
on the
easy,
news. Yeah,
like
easy to be like, oh, that's a
you're in this
scary
place.
part of the
Oh, that's a
world.
dangerous place. But like we rode through it and had an amazing time.
Yeah.
Had like some of the best tacos we've
Yeah.
had, and like
Those were my favorite tacos.
Those-
Yeah,
yeah.
in that particular town. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I think it helps provide some perspective, like going to a place and meeting the people versus just trusting that you're getting kind of the objective story when you see it in the news or on TV or yeah.
Yeah.
Right. There's good and bad everywhere, right? And it's so easy to magnify one or the other, but really getting to be in these locations helps helps shine light on the entire story, the entire situation. Absolutely. You mentioned tacos there, Sid. I gotta ask, has there been a post race meal from any of these, all of these destinations that has been, bar none, knock your socks off, the best, most memorable, let's say that, most memorable post race meal?
I think Mexico.
Yeah,
probably-
the tacos
yeah,
that we were getting in Mexico were outstanding.
yeah.
We were also very hungry.
So that was hunger is the sweet sauce.
Huge days on the bike and a lot of faffing about before we could actually get food, and then you just get like this plate of the best tacos you've ever had. So that was pretty high up there.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I feel like there was a lot of really good pasta and Parmesan in
yeah. So I did a stage race in Italy last year where they had, it was from in the homeland of Parmesan cheese, and they had huge wheels of Parmesan at the end of every race, and they were just like hacking bits off and like giving you chunks of Parmesan on top of your pasta. But it was also like 100 degrees and really humid, and you were finishing a race and being given like a hot bowl of pasta. So like that was a little tough. I was like, I want to appreciate this. I'm in Italy getting pasta, but like also I feel sick. Uh,
A little jarring, that juxtaposition. Yeah.
and I think they were taking this wheel of cheese like to all the aid stations during the race too. I never stopped at the aid station, so I can't verify that, but I don't know, the cheese was well traveled. But it's aged cheese.
It's aged cheese. It's supposed to be out and about. That's how it works. Just gets more aged.
The cheese was well traveled. I love it. Oh man. Um, moving from, I guess, qualitative to quantitative, and I want to preface this by saying I'm not necessarily asking about podium finishes or, you know, times or anything like that, but I did want to ask if there's been a accomplishment for each of you, an achievement, an accomplishment, something along this journey that you're most proud of.
Man, most is a hard word.
I know mine.
Yeah. I mean, we should start with yours because yours is
Yeah, I mean, mine was definitely the Margie Gessick last year, where I was able to become one of the first 3 women to get a belt buckle, which is under 12 hours for that race. It's basically 109 miles of very tight, twisty, rocky, nasty single track in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So, yeah, I finished in 11 hours and 50 minutes, which was actually 5 minutes faster than what I thought was the best that I could do. So I'm pretty proud of that one. I both basically was able to accomplish something that I thought was impossible, and that was pretty cool. And definitely, I feel like kind of blew the lid off of like expectations for myself. Kind of like, oh, maybe a lot more is possible than I thought. And it's just kind of deciding what to focus on. And I think also proud that I was able to kind of make it a collaborative effort with the other women and get 3 of us across the line. I mean, I think Kate Boyle definitely, like, she helped me a ton during the race, but I think just the fact that there were 4 of us trying was kind of what made it possible for any of us to do it.
100%.
Yeah, I don't have quite the same single event or thing that I can point to. I think in general, what I'm kind of the most proud of is the fact that I have been able to do this for 20 years now, as a professional, meaning I had a pro card, not necessarily that I was getting paid. But yeah, I mean, I've been able to actually make this a career, and do it for a long time, and I think I'm actually fitter and faster at 38 than I was at sort of my fastest in cross country at like 22. So I think that's pretty cool also. Like, I've had 16 years and I think I'm, stronger than I was in my early 20s, and I was doing it pretty seriously at that point also. So I'm proud of that. And now I have a lot more experience, so, I'm willing to sit back and let other people pull on the front.
It's so fascinating. As we've been talking, I've been thinking about, this is a dozen years, over a dozen years for you guys together on this journey. Similar but different question. Looking, I guess, at the biggest picture possible, is there something about this, about getting to live this dream, that has been the most rewarding for each of you?
I think for me, it has been, and this is maybe more specifically over the past 5 years since I had a major injury and came back from that and got into shape and achieved things that I definitely did not think was possible. I think seeing that progression and seeing how hard work really can translate into success, but maybe not on the time frame that a lot of people, including my past self, wanted it to. I think we're very conditioned to look for quick results. It's really interesting. Like, a lot of people want to know how they can get in shape in 8 weeks. Not many people want to know how they can progress over 5 years. And when I was recovering from my injury in like early 2021, I kind of set this goal. And like the overarching goal was like, I don't want to have any major setbacks for 5 years. And I want to see what I can do. And we're kind of going into that fifth year right now. And that's pretty cool. Because I have achieved a lot
Mhm.
physically. That I and I did have these periods after a year of being, like, getting discouraged and not really realizing, like, how cumulative fitness and training can be if you actually can avoid big injuries and illness and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're willing to commit and just, like, do the necessary steps for a long time, you can make huge, huge improvements, but it's easy to want it faster than that.
Yeah. And just like an anecdote for that, there's a race that we just did a couple weeks ago, Moab Rocks. We did it the first time in 2019, which is before I had the injury, and I ended up on the podium one of the days, and it definitely like felt like, oh, like this is like potential, like I'm gonna be good at this. And then I got hurt and didn't ride for a year and a half and yada yada yada, and like came back, did it again in 2022, was absolutely dead last on like every single stage in the pro category. Um, and I won the race 2 weeks ago. So I'm really proud of that because it took 7 years to get back on that
Yeah.
podium, which is kind of insane when you put it that way. Like, I think a lot of people, including me in 2019, would be like, God, I don't want that if it's gonna take 7 years. But like, here we are. Here we are.
The
Yeah.
definition of things don't happen overnight, right? It
Mhm.
takes
Yeah.
time and perseverance.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, something that I really enjoyed, which is less of like an accomplishment, is seeing the community
Mhm.
grow and like having people come up to us and say, this is my first race and I'm 55, or getting comments of like, I just signed up for my first race and I've only been riding bikes for a year, whatever. Like,
Recovered from a heart attack and now I'm
exactly.
racing bikes again.
Yeah.
And like, your channel was part of that.
Yeah. Yeah, that to me is really cool, just to feel like we've brought some people into mountain biking and they're excited about it and they're seeing success, and yeah, that's really cool to me and something I'm very proud of.
To think about you guys hitting the road sometime in 2014, and then you're sitting here today in 2026, and you're having, these personal accomplishments and achievements and milestones, and you're also helping these other folks, these entire community of people have their own milestones, their own achievements. That's such a cool thing. It's kind of a little bit mind blowing to think about for me sitting over here. I don't even want to even think about how mind blowing it must be for you guys, but that's such a cool thing to see how far this journey has taken you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of wild when you put it like that.
Yeah. Well, and I think, this has actually sort of made me think what Syd was talking about, what you can accomplish over 5 years. I haven't really thought about that from a like YouTube perspective until just now. And like, I think that's another good example is, it's very easy on social media to like, you're looking for the viral videos, you're looking for the overnight success. Those are the stories you hear about is the people who, grew from 0 to 100,000 subscribers in 3 months by posting special reels, whatever. And like, we have not done that.
No.
Like, our channel growth has been very slow but consistent for 7, 8 years now. And I mean, I guess that's, technically 9, but
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
8.
but like,
8.
it has not been rapid growth. But because of that, like, we're still doing it. And we have a lot of friends who, started channels and then decided that they were kind of burned out on it and didn't want to do it anymore. And that's totally fine. But like, I'm glad that we're still doing it. And,
I think it comes down to what we were talking about at the beginning of things not feeling like discipline. I think
Mhm.
if you're doing things because you love doing it, it's a lot easier. And that doesn't mean we love the editing every day, but we do love like the creative process and we do love sharing that story and having that community. And I think that's kind of kept us in the YouTube game longer than a lot of people because it isn't really about like how many views can we get.
Yeah.
In fact, I prefer our videos to stay like under a certain if things go over like 60,000 views, you get weirdos. I don't um
I think it's also funny because during COVID, we started a second channel called Syd
Yeah.
Max's Bikes.
Mhm.
And we knew a lot more about YouTube at that point. So we did things right. We had very consistent branding and all the videos were kind of set up the same way. And we were able to get to 100,000 subscribers in under a year and get a certain number of videos, over 1 million views. And it was cool to see that we could do that, but we also aren't doing that channel anymore.
yeah.
And I think that sort of speaks to that, like, what's the goal? If the goal is like fast growth, whatever. And we did that and it was cool to see that we could. But like this channel, the Syd Macky channel is the one that we really love.
It's kind of just videos about what we are doing.
Yeah.
So we don't have to, I don't know,
Fake it.
fake it. Yeah.
We are 100% this in real life and in our videos. And it's funny, we definitely have people meet us and their two reactions are, "You're taller than I thought." And the second reaction is, "You guys are exactly the same as you are in your videos." And we're like, "Yeah, we are terrible actors.
Yeah.
We are not going to be acting. We are just what you see that's 100% us."
Yeah, and even like when we did Sid Fix's Bikes, like it wasn't acting, but it was still like we had to kind of get into a mode, and that made it so much harder to do.
Yeah.
And that sounds kind of crazy, but I think it was just like we had to be on for it in a way that we don't have to be when we're just like doing a race and filming and talking to the camera. So it was a higher mental load, and we just didn't enjoy it as much.
Plus, Sid stopped being injured and started training more,
that
so we
was-
just didn't have time
that
to
was
do
also
more.
a problem. Yeah.
Well, I mean, authenticity matters, right? Authenticity resonates, and I think that's 100% true with you guys.
Yeah.
The last thing I had for you, and I'm just really going to open up the floor to the both of you here. I want to ask about, maybe looking ahead to what's next. What's next for the channel? What's next for the two of you, and goals down the road? Where are Syd and Macky headed from here?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're still at a point with our racing where we're getting better. We definitely get the question a lot of people being like, when do you get too old for this?
Yeah.
I
What's
was
the trajectory?
somewhat.
I mean, we do have parents in their 70s and 80s who are still racing. So, like,
Yeah.
about a long time.
I don't have an expiration date on the pro career, but I think, I also like the pro women's on the endurance side, like I'm usually getting beat by women who are older than me. So I definitely like feel like there is progression from a bike racing standpoint. And I think we both want to ride that wave as long as we can and kind of just see what we're capable of doing.
Mhm.
And I think we both see YouTube as being part of that journey for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It allows us to do it allows us to keep racing and training because that is our job and how we make money. And, so we want to keep doing that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think as we talked about a little bit earlier in our conversation, there is sort of this question of balance.
Mhm.
How can we have more not free time, but like time to spend time with friends and family and, have hobbies besides just riding bikes. And that's something that we're working on. We have some ideas. I don't see the Syd Macky channel going anywhere.
No.
I still see us doing videos regularly, but trying to figure out, how to balance that so that we do have the time for other things in our lives.
So I think ultimately what we really enjoy is like the videos that we get to spend time on that
Mhm.
we're excited about. But sometimes like having a video every single week feels like a bit of a grind. So I could see us doing less videos, but hopefully better ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, more videos wrapped around an event and then like fewer of the kind of day-to-day ones, just because those are, I mean, in a lot of ways, they're actually much easier because it's like we go out and we film one ride and we kind of throw it together. But I don't feel like it's as interesting a story and I don't feel like it's as valuable
Yeah.
of information to people to sort of see, how we'd handle preparing for racing and that kind of stuff. Like the lead up to the race and racing and all that, I think is kind of the most interesting. So yeah, we've got some ideas there and we just want to try to figure out the balance and make sure we can keep doing this for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much. I can't say that enough. This has been totally fantastic.
Awesome.
I always I hesitated there because I always use the word fantastic, and I always mean it, but I just don't want to be the person that says fantastic every time. This has been a treat. This has been
Cool.
really, really awesome. Yeah, thank you guys, and
Thanks for
um,
having me.
Yeah.
yeah, I look forward to seeing what's next, and yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having us on. It was really awesome to get to meet you, albeit digitally, and yeah, get to chat for a while.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Cheers.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank
Nate.
you.